Given the name Doherty by his Chickasaw birth mother, Winchester was adopted into the family of tribal leader Levi Colbert. Growing up, he heard the story of how his adoptive father had foiled the Creek's plans to launch a surprise attack against the Chickasaws. He longed for the opportunity to protect his people in a similar way, but by the time he was 10 years old, the Chickasaw people were battling a different adversary, the federal government. Education became Winchester's most useful weapon. He attended Charity Hall in Monroe County, Mississippi until he was 16. Thomas McKinney was the first commissioner of Indian Affairs and a close friend of the Colbert family. This relationship afforded Winchester the unusual opportunity of assisting the commissioner in Washington, D.C. During this 2-year period, he gained first-hand knowledge of governmental procedures at the federal level. In 1828, at McKinney's suggestion, Winchester enrolled at the Choctaw Academy in Kentucky. By his 20th birthday, he was fluent in Chickasaw, Choctaw, and English. Winchester had learned to farm and survey land and gained valuable political experience as well. As Winchester reached adulthood, the relationship between the federal government and the Chickasaws grew increasingly unbalanced. Little did he realize that his training would be relied upon to see the tribe through difficult years that lay ahead. When the Chickasaw people were forced to leave their homelands, Winchester was among the first groups to be removed to Indian Territory. Eventually, his family settled in Oil Springs. By this time, Winchester had become a noted spokesman in tribal affairs. He imagined Chickasaws governing themselves as they always had, but they were now living on lands leased from the Choctaws and were subject to their laws. Winchester represented the Chickasaw people in Choctaw council meetings. As a member of the minority group, Winchester witnessed his people suffering loss after loss on issues that directly affected them. To protect his tribe's national identity, he relentlessly fought for separate political status. In 1855, Winchester outlined the treaty that established this separation. Its ratification was a significant victory for the Chickasaw people. Immediately, he began drafting a constitution for the recreated government, which was adopted in 1856. He campaigned against Cyrus Harris for the office of governor that same year. Winchester narrowly lost that election, but he continued to serve his tribe as a member of the first Chickasaw legislature. His bids for governor in 1858, 1862, and 1864 were successful. During Winchester's terms in office, Chickasaw schools, churches, and businesses flourished until the Civil War devastated the tribe's progress. The fledgling Chickasaw government had disintegrated under the pressures of the war, but following the collapse of the Confederate cause, Winchester returned to defend the rights of the Chickasaw people during the peace negotiations in Fort Smith. He drafted and executed the Chickasaw Nation Freedmen Emancipation Document. Under his leadership, a Chickasaw delegation to Washington, D.C. led to the signing of a biparticipant treaty with the federal government in 1866. It was the voice and actions of Winchester Colbert that distinguished his tribe during these times of extreme economic and social change. The Chickasaw Nation is proud to induct Winchester Colbert into the 2008 Chickasaw Hall of Fame.